In this video, let's talk about mouse interaction. So in the previous video, we learned about variables, and in particular, we learned about special variables that are provided by p5.js, such as width and height. In fact, these are not the only special variable that are provided by p5. There's also a pair of variables called mouse x and mouse y, and let's see how we can use them. So in draw, let's draw a good old circle, and this time instead of specifying a specific number, we can use a variable mouse x and then the variable named mouse y, and then give it a diameter. So now we see a circle on the top left, and let's see what happens if we move our mouse to the canvas. So actually, this is how we can make the circle. We can make the circle move with the mouse, and mouse X and mouse Y essentially will be the exact location where our mouse is. And of course, if we move our mouse outside the canvas, it won't be able to know where it is. And but that is not limited to using X and Y. X and Y is the most obvious use of a circle, but we can also use the mouse X and mouse Y for other parameters of the circle. And let's actually use our previous convention of creating variables for each parameter. So let X equal to mouse X, let Y equal to mouse Y, and let D equals to 100. And now we can change these numbers to X, Y, and D. Again, this it's a little bit redundant, but I'm just showing this as an example to see that how we can clearly see that X, Y, D refers to the circle X, Y, and D. Because I'm only drawing one circle, that's the only case where I would excuse myself for using single letter variable names. So same thing. So now what if I change, instead of the 100, what if I change the diameter to mouse X as well? So now, as I move my mouse to the right or along the x-axis, the size of the circle changes. And similarly, we can do that with Y as well. Or what if we write something like mouse X times mouse Y? So now it grows so fast because of the multiplication there. Yeah. And maybe divided by 1000. Let's just give it a try. So now it's a little more managed, so it doesn't take up the whole screen, but you see how now it reacts to both the width and height. So that's how we can make interaction with mouse. But since now that we have this circle that moves with our mouse, why don't we try to create a little drawing program where we can draw with our mouse? And to do that, there's actually only one very simple thing we need to do. So far, we've always had the background inside of the draw function. And let's try, what if we move this? I'm going to delete this. And in the setup function, I'm going to write background 220. And let's see what happens. So now, actually, the circles, we are drawing with circles. But why is this happening? Remember that the setup function runs once. It happens once. That's the preparation phase. We create the canvas, and in this case, we change the background, and done. So in draw function happens multiple times every second. And that is why as we move our mouse, it keeps trying to draw a new circle. So why is it that the circle in the previous version, when we have background instead of draw, we only see one circle? That is because every frame, for every single frame, 6 times per second, whenever we draw, for every frame, we started with background. What that means is the background technically it's as if we're drawing that color for the entire canvas. So essentially we paint over our previous drawing and then draw a new circle and paint over our previous drawing and draw a new circle. That's why we can only see one circle at any given time, so it looks as though the circle is moving, but in fact we are just drawing new circles at new locations. So by moving the background from draw to the setup, that really shows us how draw works. So draw will always draw based on the whatever that you already have on the canvas. It really doesn't matter. You just keep drawing new circles based on the code that we wrote, which is to draw a circle at the X and Y of the mouse position. Yeah. And just to make this, maybe this is fine. Yeah. Let's try to add some features. One is that right now the drawing happens. As long wherever my mouse goes. So what if we want to make sure that the drawing only happens if we press the mouse? So that's when we need to use a if statement. So let's write a if statement. We can write that. Yeah, let's write it at the beginning here. So if mouse is pressed, and as soon as I enter D, you see that color change. So that's an indication that this is a recognized keyword. So that is a keyword that's again provided by P5.js for our convenience, that represents whether or not mouse is pressed. So a button on the mouse is pressed. And then with the if statement, so essentially we start with if, and then we put the condition within the parenthesis, and afterwards we put the two curly braces, the opening and closing, and enclose all the code that we want to run when this condition is true. So now if I run the sketch again, when I move my mouse around, there's nothing that's been drawn. However, if I press my mouse and then draw, that's when something's actually going to be drawn on the screen. So let's try to write M, Y. So I'm going to try to write my coding show. This is going to be hard because the size just get progressively larger. My coding and show. Maybe I'll try to draw as much as I can on the left side. My coding show. Yeah. But of course, if you don't like the fact that it's larger on the right side, we can simply, instead of these thing here, we can specify that as any particular size we want, such as 100. So now, 100 is quite big, maybe like 20. And then now we can use this as a proper drawing tool. But of course, since we are building our own drawing tool, it's more fun when the diameter also changes. Yeah, it is harder to use though. So my coding show. And now let's add color. Since we know how to add color, let's also add a little bit of color. So let's try to add color, fill, and red. Now we can draw with red, or fill. Let's see, maybe a blue color. So 100. I'm just guessing the color that I want, and 200. Yeah, kind of blue. Maybe I want this to be 255, so it's more blue, a little more saturated. And so this is how we can add interaction. We also get a very first introduction to conditions and if statements. And in the next video, we will be learning more about conditionals. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.